Hi, I'm Tony Russo, and this is a bonus episode of In Case You Missed It from Kates-Boylston. In this episode, we speak with Katie Hill, who is the CEO of Mortuary Lift Company. And although this is ostensibly about her position on the new Kates-Boylston Advisory Board, there's other stuff we talk about. I was a little embarrassed to not have heard the Mortuary Lift origin story, so I figured I'd get her to tell that, which is not something we usually do on this show, but it was a really cool conversation, and this is a person who clearly has so much to offer funeral service and all the experience anybody could ever need to be a real asset to us on our advisory board. So meet Katie Hill, and I will catch you on the other side. It's such a pleasure to have you. I should let you know you are only the second person I've interviewed for this, so I'm excited to kind of dig through this whole advisory board thing. But before we get started in that, let me get you to please introduce yourself to the listeners, tell them who you are, what you do, all those kind of things.
Well, hi, Tony. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this advisory board as well. My name is Katie Hill, and I am the president of Mortuary Lift Company. And Mortuary Lift Company, for those of you who don't know, we've been around for a very long time. I've been the president of this company for 37 years.
Wow.
I grew up above a funeral home. I am a licensed funeral director. And how I got started in manufacturing lifts was because I was a woman in the industry and I could not do my job. I couldn't lift dead bodies. So it became very apparent to me that if I wanted to compete in this industry, I had to be able to do all aspects of the job. And, luckily I had a father who was really a pioneer, and he helped me investigate different lifting options out there. And here we are with Mortuary Lift Company. And now, we've got the Ultimate 1000 lift. We have a tug along, which will get stretchers into the back of a vehicle. And then we've got a electric stair climber that will get lift bodies out of a house. So all the areas where I struggled are now accessible to me. So.
Oh, all right. We're going to try to just bring this in under 15 minutes because I've got questions. The first one is easy. What's your father's name? We should shout him out.
John Salata. He was a funeral director in Illinois. He had the Gurney Funeral Home and the Salata Funeral Home and the Nemanick Funeral Home.
And so did you purchase or start this company?
Well, we purchased it from a boat hoist manufacturer out of Salinas, California.
Get out of here.
Yes.
So
yeah, they made boat hoists, and they made a couple of these lifts for funeral directors out there that were friends. And my dad caught wind of this idea and contacted them, and they said, we don't want to do this. We got to pull the foreman off the floor every time somebody wants one of this, and this is not how we make our money. And my dad asked if he could buy it, and here we are today. So, I paid my dad back. He's like, here, what do you want to do with this? We'll build one of these machines. And then I went and took it around to local state shows and then went to the national shows. And here we are today.
That is absolutely bananas. So I've only been covering this industry for about 3 years. So I just thought this was something that always was. I thought this was like caskets. It's just always been. I didn't realize that it was an innovation. And I also didn't realize that there was a way to take the bodies down the stairs. Can you tell me about that? How did that get developed?
That's new. That started, my brother now runs the funeral homes of my parents. And he injured his back, trying to do a removal.
Right.
And he was laid up for like 6 months before he could get back surgery.
Jeez.
And, he's a one-man show. So he had to have a friend come in and run his funeral home. And during that time, he's like, sister, you got to help me out. I can't continue to do this. And, to be truthful, when I was working in the funeral home, I never brought bodies up and down the stairs without my brother being there. Right.
Better safe than sorry. Yeah.
Do it alone. And, basically I was there to put my foot in front of the wheels of the stretcher so that the stretcher didn't go sliding down the stairs, because he was using the stretcher like it was a two-wheel dolly.
Right.
So, he and I batted around the idea for a while and came up with an electric stair climber that electrically climbs and descends stairs, and you can put bodies on them. And then Mortuary Lift Company and the engineers that I hired invented a prop stand that we patented. So now it loads just like a stretcher does. So you can use this to electrically climb and descend stairs, and then also load it like a stretcher into a vehicle.
That's
And so,
fantastic.
yeah, I mean, that's all gone through lots of, stages. So that stepper, we're on version 5 now, and it's, hydraulic and everything like that. So, these are all like learning curves. I mean, the funeral industry is one of those industries that very few things are designed for
Right.
specifically. We're always taking things from other industries and trying to adapt them to work for us. And I'm trying to come at it with a new set of eyes going, you know what? This is a valuable industry
Especially if you can solve a problem.
and help out this industry. I don't think that it gets enough credit. I really don't. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We just don't get, people don't value us like I think that they should.
And
I love the industry. I grew up in it. I'm third generation. I really value the funeral industry.
I'm sorry to harp, but I do want to ask you to paint like a word picture. Is this on treads? Is this like
Oh,
a
that's right. There is no visuals here.
right? Yeah.
It looks like a two-wheel dolly, and then it has a
Oh,
secondary set of wheels that electrically will climb and like catch the stair above it and pull it up,
wow.
pull the whole dolly up to the next step. And that second set of wheels will also lower that dolly down a step. So you're not doing any of the lifting or the lowering. This machine is lifting and lowering that body up and down the steps.
That and what's really interesting to me is because I've been writing a lot, and actually all of us have been writing a lot about the wave, I think, of women who are joining funeral service.
80%.
And it's, I mean, this seems like, and I'm sorry that I'm so far behind the times, but this seems like a kind of a nick of time rise in this very, very important piece of kit.
I would have to agree with you. I mean, we go into funeral homes all the time where it's an entirely female staff, entirely female. And on a daily basis, we are talking to funeral directors that are like, I can only hire females. There's only females that are coming to me for this position.
Mm.
And I have to be able to lift, or they have to be able to lift, right? So we are now offering the tools, and it's just women. Frankly, men don't want to get injured in this industry either. And
No.
people are not getting smaller. And we're offering the tools to keep you safe, and give you job joy. I mean, the people in the funeral industry love helping the community. They love helping the families they serve. They hate getting injured. They
Yeah.
don't like the lifting,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
That's a state legal.
55. I just turned 54, so I'm 54. If I have to bring something big upstairs, that's what I'm doing all that day. That's the only thing I'm going to do that day.
Yes, it's a pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we also just patented our tug along, which is a portable winch that you can plug into the front seat belts of your vehicle, and it goes like on the armrest in between the two front seats, and it pulls stretchers in and out of the vehicle, because that's another point of pain. And I
Right.
learned this the hard way because I always had my brother do this stuff, right? I would
Mhm.
go with my brother, and my brother would load the body into the hearse. Well, I had a guy that worked for me who died in a motorcycle accident. A lot of people knew him because he traveled around the United States and installed equipment. Ed was his name. And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, Ed, how's he doing? Well, he was killed in a motorcycle accident in upper Minnesota by the Canadian border. And I'm a licensed funeral director, so I took his wife up there to go pick him up. And he was a bigger guy. So I go to load his body into the hearse. I say goodbye to the funeral director. This funeral home obviously had my lift.
Right.
But I say goodbye. I go and I take Ed's body out to the hearse. I go to load him, and I cannot get him in there.
Mm.
And I'm standing out there all alone. And now I'm looking for a place to hide him while I run into the funeral home,
Right.
get somebody to come out. And I'm like, that will never happen again. I have to come up with something so that no one is ever in the predicament of not being able to load a body. And funeral directors now are working with fewer and fewer staff. So they're going out alone, right?
Yeah.
They need the tools. They need the tools to do their job and to do their job safely so they don't get injured. Because, like my brother, think about the lost revenue of him not being able to handle the funerals on his own, having to hire somebody to come in.
Right.
It's just not a predicament that funeral directors want to be in. And, luckily he's got a really good friend that's in the industry that was willing to help him out. I'm happy that I can provide things to help these funeral directors.
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely. I'm so happy to be surprised because I've seen like you guys have like very intricate layouts for in the workroom, which I've seen, but this is excellent. So thank you so much for telling me all that, and I'm sorry that I knew so little about the other innovations you guys have made.
Yeah, I mean, this is the back end stuff that not a lot of people that don't work in the industry, on the day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
realize, the struggles that are going on. I'm happy to be on this advisory board to shed a different perspective, a different perspective of what's going on in the funeral industry.
Well, thank you for the segue. So, what are some of the things that you hope to see as far as like coverage is concerned, or some of the stories that you'd like to have told or see told, and like how do you see the advisory board going, and how do you see your part in it?
Well, I really would like to focus on legislation. I think that the funeral directors, I grew up in this industry. I remember when the FTC rule came out. That was, I remember it was an eye opener for my parents. And I just look at this industry and I want legislation to come out to benefit the industry instead of regulate it. Like, I think that we should be able to have alkaline or resumation, right?
Right.
In all states. I think that we should be able to have different types of burial in all states. It seems like it's very, very difficult for funeral directors to get different licensing to put these resumation units or to get the screen burial. I'd like more of that communication to be discussed in the trade journal so that we can open up these avenues for revenue and growth in the funeral industry. And I really think that comes with pushing that kind of legislation so that funeral directors can start to grow where their clients want them to.
That is absolutely fantastic. And that's pretty much all I have for you, unless you have something for me. Is there something I should have asked and didn't ask, or something you thought you'd get the opportunity to say, but I didn't provide it?
No, I could talk all day. So, I mean, there's a lot that I'd like to say, but that's just me. I'm kind of chatty.
Oh, very well. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed my time.
Thanks for joining us for this bonus episode. As a reminder, this bonus episode is a Kates-Boylston production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo. Please subscribe wherever you're listening now. Follow if you're on Apple. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so at Kates-Boylston.com. There's a link in the show notes to me and my contact information, as well as to all of our publications. And that will do me for this time. I will check back in with you Friday with In Case You Missed It, my weekly news roundup. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. We'll talk to you then.